What up, everybody? Welcome to the IAG Thursday thing. This thing we do every Thursday, and we've been pretty good about it. Last week we did a show that was kind of news oriented, and then more news happened, so we decided to do another show that was kind of news oriented. Just because I got to be real, the news has to be reported. So, um, I'm joined today again. Thankfully, he's been able to find time within his adulting schedule by Warranty. Warranty, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. I got a 3-day weekend coming up, so I'm going to enjoy it. And in the meantime, I get to tell you about the Chicago Auto Show, which will be a mixed bag of me being really enthusiastic and you saying, it's just not that good. And then I come back down to earth and the world moves on.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that. I want to talk about steering wheels at some point too, and
Cool.
but really, what we need to talk about is a lot of what this next year is going to look like. Things. There's a little doom and gloom coming here, folks, and I need you to be aware of it. Jordan takes care of all our background stuff. He also edits these podcasts, and I don't think he's going to be around today, but we all love producer Jordan. Can't thank him enough for what he puts into this. He's huge for this in the community. And Randy has been busy as all hell because it is crazy time, but he managed to find some time to put together the thumbnail for us, and we can't thank him enough. Thank you, Randy. So kicking off today's news, I'm seeing this as good and or bad news, depending on how you look at it. Um, I think overall it's kind of bad news, but it also is kind of proof that maybe the wrong direction, like things are going in the wrong direction and changes needed to be made. And maybe they knew this was happening before this was reported on. Hence why big changes have been made fairly recently. But a earnings report came out for Subaru and it is not pretty. What are the numbers, Warranty? What are we looking at here?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it was like 60% profits decreased. And it's not just Subaru. I believe Toyota's the same way. So
It
Subaru profits down. Let's see what Google says.
it was a pretty they already knew there was going to be a profits decrease, and then they revised it quite a bit.
Oh gosh. Yep. So Google AI says operating profits falling 82% year over year. Now it's a 68% decrease in the full year operating profit, driven largely by soaring US tariff costs. So that totaled $233 million in the quarter. So nothing like $233 million of profit. That's no longer going to be profit for you.
So
So that's a
there's
tough one.
a lot of things causing this, but a big driver, a massive driver of this is tariffs. This thing that I do not want this show to get politicized, but the reality of what a tariff is a corporation that is bringing something from overseas or purchasing something from overseas, or a consumer who is purchasing something from overseas. It is a tax on that consumer, whoever's pulling it in on within the country. It's an extra tax on that, and Subaru, when they import vehicles to then sell here, end up paying a pretty steep tariff, and at some point they if it was a smaller tariff, they could probably absorb some of the costs, but these are not small, like 5% tariffs. These are like 20-30% Looney Tunes tariffs. And the current political climate and the way tariffs have been bouncing all over the place, it is absolutely annihilating profits for foreign companies who are doing business within the United States. Now, there's let's look at both sides of this. Subaru also has started producing more stuff in Indiana. Um, Probably a solid way to avoid tariffs by producing more stuff in the US. And that's really kind of the goal of what the broader scheme of things are. But um The other way of looking at this is we are in a global economy, and it in small amounts of tariffs maybe make sense, but there's things can get overdone, and blanket tariffs can be super damaging. So it's brutal. And this is bleeding into all sorts of different areas of the industry, including IAG. Like I'm because now we can't one to one say Subaru did this because of this, but it is kind of obvious. Um, just this last Monday, and we fought like hell to not have to do this, but we had to up the price of our base short block, the IAG 550, by $500. And it's because the price of OEM Subaru case halves are skyrocketing. And that's mostly due to them having to bring them into the States. It's just basically raw material. They're getting annihilated, absolutely annihilated, and they have to pass some of that on. So you have a couple of fold here. Okay, so you've got these tariffs are rocking stuff, but then you also have a company who, and now I'm going to do some speculation. Some of this is opinion, but I mean the sales numbers for the WRX aren't great right now. It isn't like they're moving. They're still moving a decent amount of their their basic vehicles, the Foresters, stuff like that, but uh they're not growing excitement enough to outrun that. And not only that, like just the basic price of a car has gone through the roof. It is crazy expensive to purchase a vehicle, and honestly, wages have not went up to match it. So like it's really hard for normal people to buy new vehicles. This is why, one more reason, I've been screaming and screaming and screaming about this. The party is not going to be in new vehicles. It's going to be in used vehicles. Okay. You're going to see more and more people, especially enthusiasts. They're not even going to screw with a new car. They're just going to buy something used. I am not the odd one here in buying a bug eye. Yeah, it's a 25-year-old car. It's ancient. Okay, but I'm not the crazy one here. There's more of me out there. And there's more of me growing every day, that people who maybe would have looked at a new WRX are looking at a significantly older WRX and going, well, maybe I should just throw some money into that. Personally, I think it's up to the aftermarket, and some companies are doing a very good job of this and some aren't. But of educating the customer in what that actually looks like. Okay? The reality of it is our consumer now is not as educated as they once were. I love you and I'm speaking to the community, but the reality of it is the average consumer who would have called you in like 2010 um would have had a fairly some sort of concept to what they wanted. It might have been grandiose and completely batshit insane and they wanted too much, but they had a fairly good idea as to what they wanted, and they understood, basic stuff. What a forged piston was, what a short block was versus a long block, how boost works, things like that. Like a lot of this stuff, and it's because things like the forums existed still, and you know people kind of celebrated people knowing things, and there were people who rose up within the community to be these pillars, that people could look up to. And some of that, a lot of that is gone now, with forums not functioning quite the way they were, and it just not being cool to post build threads and things like that like it used to be. Man, I was on Nasiok, was it yesterday or the day before, just poking around again, and it's sad. There is nothing new on there. But if you go look for any problem with a Subaru whatsoever, you're guaranteed at least the top or the somewhere in the top 3 hits is going to be an ASIAC thread. And this is where a ton of the information still is, but we live in a time period where that's honestly a lot of that's really outdated, and some of it's just the community that was making that content um has either moved on or the world's just different, and it is not inspiring current people who are getting into to mess with that sort of stuff. Um, so we live in a weird situation. We live in a weird world. And it is I got to be real. I think it kind of falls on the the companies who are, enthusiast driven to do their best to not only make products that are going to cater to these people who are just getting into the community or maybe picking up old vehicles, but kind of show them what to do, and I think you're going to start seeing a lot of that. I know you're going to start seeing some of that with me. Um, but like Kelby's saying, social media kind of ruined a lot of the way the community functioned. And I know this is kind of a tangent, and I'm all over the place, but we we as a community, eh, the current consumer, this is where I need to go with this. The current consumer, because it is so damn expensive to buy a enthusiast car right now, are going to be looking at used vehicles. Okay. And there are a lot of used Subarus out there with a just a endless ocean of options, but I don't think people realize that. There's so much cool stuff we can do with these older cars. And it is up to us as, you know, uh, the people who are listening to this, other people within the community, different companies, content makers, things like that. We have to show all the things we can do with these cars, not just the, woo horsepower. Like we need to. What are the things that got you into these cars? You know what I mean? We need to show that sort of stuff, and these are valid platforms still, and the Subaru enthusiast isn't going anywhere, but it's going to change. And that's might be a little terrifying. Um but again, the current state of Subaru, um I think they got burned a little bit. I think they got screwed by tariffs. I got to be real. I think they absolutely got screwed by tariffs, and their pricing is getting jacked all over the place. And we're seeing it on our end from parts costs because we have to use a lot of OEM Subaru base to build the products we build for you guys. And if those prices go up, like we can only eat so much of it because I got to be real. We don't run at the margins that people think we do. This is not a 90% margin business by any means. That's not what it is. After you look into uh us having, we don't produce our pistons. We get them from like JE, and our JE makes a custom piston for us, and Manly makes a custom rod for us, and our bearings are coming from ACL, and like almost everything that we do it's coming from somewhere else. It might be our design, but we can only make so much of it in house. And a lot of it is like our labor and our machining and our knowledge of putting these things together. That's what you're paying for, but there's not that much margin in there, and we can only cut into that so much before somebody's eating a pay cut or whatever. They can't work here anymore, and it's just it's a shit situation. And I got to be real, we refuse to cut quality So unfortunately, if we don't want to reduce the quality. So unfortunately, the cost did have to move a little bit on that. So um, so that's I think this is going to be a greater trend. Unfortunately, I'm interested to see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens in like the used parts market. Okay, our head casting is going to get very expensive. Our used case halves going to get very expensive. We don't like to use those if at all possible, but I mean, there may come a point where we're gonna have to open the concept of that up again. We don't know. Again, we're gonna fight that as much as we can because we want to produce the best possible product for you we can. But um, maybe that becomes an option. Maybe we start looking into the aftermarket to produce certain things. The reality of it is prices probably won't go back down. That's what something's going to have to change. Prices won't go down. Something's going to have to drastically change. So who knows what the future brings? Stuff that maybe us or other companies were previously looking at that didn't make financial sense starts to make a whole lot more sense now that the price of OEM stuff's going way higher. Um, and maybe who knows? Maybe this pushes it over and something great comes of it. We don't know. But as it sits right now, it's terrifying. And again, that was some wildly long-winded, crazy tangent. But
No,
that,
because my boss called, so Dewey just had to vamp for a while.
but I mean, it
So
was going to happen
I'm
whether
back.
you were here or not. Like that. That was
That's totally correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
but
I will say that one interesting quirk about this is the stereotype is that tariffs are not paid by the American consumer, which is false. It's just a tax on Americans. However, for the short term, the stereotype is correct, which is, well, the companies are just eating the tariffs. They can't do that forever because $200 million is way too much to just let go of as profits. So,
I mean,
nonetheless,
reports
I
came
am
out last
encouraged.
year, or came out just, and again, I'm not trying to make this political. This is
Right.
very third party looking at this. They're right now, and this was reported in multiple places. This isn't like a uh right wing this or a left wing that. This was reported all over the
Right.
place. So that
Right.
tariffs last year cost the average American $1,000. And this year coming up, it is estimated that it will cost the average American, and remember, this is the average American. The majority of us modifying our vehicles and stuff, we expose ourselves way more to this stuff than your average, you know, Camry
Yeah.
driving, I just watch sports on Sunday American, okay? Um in the average American this next year is supposedly going to be closer to 15 to $1,600. So it will go
Oh,
up.
gosh.
Yeah, and that's
Wow.
the average American, not average household, average American.
That's a pay cut, man. And for a lot of people, that's
That
call it a 3% pay cut.
that's a serious pay cut for a lot of people that
Yeah.
they had no control over whatsoever. I mean, they kind of did, but I don't
Yeah.
think they realized what was happening. Again, not trying to
Yeah.
make this political. That's not where I'm
Well,
going, but
we've heard that a million times.
it's a very real thing that is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Things are kind of a mess right now, kind of up and down. I do wonder if it's going to create like a mini recession in the aftermarket because if you're making 3% less money than you did last year, that money's not going to buy car parts.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, personally, I have a friend. This is an update from last week. My friend did go buy that Civic Si. He
Ah!
absolutely loves it. I know I'm going to drive
Ah!
it and I'm going to love it too. But we're going to get into that maybe a little bit later. What I wanted to say is that car is $3,000 more expensive than it was even 2 years ago,
Mhm.
something like that, 2 or 3 years ago. It's a $29,000 car. I'm sorry, it's a $32,000 car because of tariffs. On the plus side, when he traded in his BRZ, he got 24 grand for it with like 30K miles, 40,000 miles, something like that. When I traded in my BRZ 2 years ago, I got 20 grand for it. But then again, I also paid less for my BRZ TS. So, I guess it's a wash. Who knows? But makes it harder for people to buy that first car.
I agree. I totally agree. And this is, well, I don't know if you heard this part of my rant, but I am very much of the belief that less people these manufacturers are going to have to figure something out, because there are a lot of used Subarus out there, and I think they're going to continue to turn towards older models and modifying them, at least the aftermarket enthusiast. They're not going to go buy new cars and modify them like they used to if they keep getting more and more
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah. From the little I know of the auto market, when new car prices go up, used car prices go up because the demand shifts over there.
Yep.
So if the total cost is lower, yeah, you're just going to maintain that old car for longer or buy an old car because you don't want to spend an extra 5 grand on a new car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all connected, man. This is how macroeconomics works.
It's it's coming. So, and again, I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. This is gonna be the year of the GD. Okay, we're going to see GD prices skyrocket this year. Skyrocket,
Yeah.
absolutely skyrocket.
Okay. I believe that. Yeah.
I'm betting by the end of the year, um, a non-rusty WRX with 200,000 miles on it right now is like 5 to 5,500. I bet you it's 8 to 9 by the end of the year. Okay, like high
Mm,
mileage STIs right now, 0405 time period. Early STIs that are in like reasonable shape, but maybe some small modifications, things of that nature. There's somewhere around 12 to 14 right now. They're going to be an $18,000 car. '07
oh my
STIs
gosh.
are 22-ish right now if they're super clean, or well, shouldn't
What?
say super clean, like reasonable. That's going to be a $32,000 car. This is this is happening.
Um,
Which right now the best deal in Subarus, in my opinion, is an '08 to like 13 STI hatch. And those are the cheapest ones you can get right now. And you can get ones that are running for 10 to 12, okay, that are like not in awful shape. High mileage, but not in terrible shape, like a good base for you to start from. You're going to start seeing those go up too, because people are going to go, well, I can't afford that. I might as well look into this.
mhm. Yep. Yeah. Rising tide raises all boats. But to be fair, used cars go through this as well. There was a point in time where the Supra was extremely cheap, and then the hype train just
Hype
sped up, and
hype
now they're
train pushed
extremely
that up.
expensive.
That's a little different. Okay. Now I do
Okay.
believe that people like me are going to jack the prices of STIs just like the generation before me jacked the prices of Supras. Okay.
Right. It's a life cycle. Yeah.
That's going to happen. It's whoever's going into their whatever the cool car is for whoever's getting into their mid 40s to early 50s at that time period. You know, so 45 to 55, right in that area. Whatever was the cool car around then for those people is what the price of those cars is going to jack.
Mm,
This cycle has been happening. Um, and the rare ones are going to get crazier. NSXs are going to be right now they're 90 to $100,000 cars are going to be $200,000 cars. They're going to double in price because of the rarity in what they are. I mean, look at GTRs; they're already absolute insanity right now. Um, so it's all going up. But what's crazier is this would still like your enthusiast level WRX, your STIs, your stuff like that we can still pick up for a reasonable amount are still cheaper than what you can buy a new WRX for. And what's going to happen
yeah.
is the value proposition, people are going to start, especially if the aftermarket starts getting their head on straight, starts educating the consumer about this, that this is the route you should take. Even if it, for better or worse, let's say, and they start educating the consumer, I have a feeling here, they're going to start seeing this as the route they want to go, which this could work two ways. This could kill the new STI.
The high prices or the
The
fact
high,
that so many
well,
people are just going for old
let's
cars?
say it's 55 grand, but the aftermarket has already started showing these newer consumers that like, bro, you need to go buy an '04, '05 STI. You know what I mean? God forbid we have anything that happened like in the 9/11 community where like um we have a situation where raw welt, you know, the wide body
Um,
911s, those were $20,000 cars till this man slapped some body kits on. Okay, that like
yeah.
something happens culturally that like really kicks these things off a cliff. It could get fucking stupid fast.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a question about this. I've
Sure.
got a friend. I'm going to start using a code name for this guy because I'm referring to him multiple times. We're going to call him Simon. Okay. So
Simon.
bought Simon. He bought this Civic Si
Yes.
and he test drove a VBWX and he didn't buy it because he thought it would be a little bit too good and he thought he'd get bored with it. He got
Okay.
bored with his BRZ driving straight on the highway, really boring. Going
he's
around a
he's
corner and
he's in Illinois. I need everybody to understand this. He's in Illinois, and I can totally understand why straight flat roads, no hills. It's that a car like a BRZ would get boring extraordinarily quick. Like I don't know how anybody in
yeah,
Florida owns a BRZ. I love you guys, but I don't know how you would because there are no corners
yeah.
in Florida.
Yeah. I like it, but I'm also a nerd and I latch onto certain things a different way. Some people just like a car that feels dangerous. Doesn't have to be fast.
Has this
So
guy ever been to Tail the Dragon?
I don't remember. I'd have to ask him.
No, the
He
reason I
he's
say that,
from Connecticut.
sure, but that's not where he's at now. Okay, and
Right.
if his brain is wired like that right now, wherever he has been won't. It's he wasn't thinking about things in the same way. Um, I would be really interested to see this guy go to Tail of the Dragon. Okay, or somebody
Okay.
like him. Because you have been there. So this is why you latch
Yes.
one of the reasons you latch onto certain things.
Right. I'm making a point here. So I want to touch on the WRX first, which is these older cars, the WRX and the STI were different. They're older now, so yes, like the tech is not quite as good, but more importantly, how those cars drove is significantly different to the VBWX.
Yeah.
I think Subaru crossed the line and started doing things wrong when they introduced 19-inch wheels for the STI. I think that's too far into like grip performance territory. When I think of an STI, I think of it sliding through a corner, including on pavement. And what do you need? You need 2005 tire technology, or you need 2025 all season tire technology. That sounds like fun to me.
I don't
None of
think
this,
19
200.
wheels it caused it. I will say maybe sticking a maybe too grippy of a tire on it.
Sure.
I could see that to a certain degree that like if somebody takes it on a test drive and the car is so grippy that they have no concept to like how fast they're going or what's making that fun. I can get that. I can
Yes.
understand that. The person who's going
He
to want
got
to buy
that.
that is somebody who is only thinking about numbers, and then unfortunately like the VBWX or the current ST or the older STI or whatever, um if the numbers weren't that appealing, you know what I mean? So the experience has got to be right, and I do think Subaru m- missed the mark in certain spots on that, and I maybe the 19-inch wheel didn't cause that, but maybe the tire tech did. The 19-inch wheel was literally to just give it a particular look, and they went in the wrong direction with that, in my opinion, on the VB or on the
Well,
VA, I should
wheel
say.
size wheel size does impact performance. You're going to have a tighter sidewall, and so you're going to be relying more on the suspension, and so everything's going to feel sharper.
A certain degree, or I'd be running 19s. There is a sweet spot there.
That's what I'm saying. There is a sweet spot. I think it's over the line, but I could be wrong.
I don't think the performance improved with a 19 versus
Right.
an 18.
Right.
It was a
That's what I'm
look.
saying.
That was
That's what I'm
literally
saying.
aesthetic only.
Okay. Okay. Um, so where was I going with this? Yeah, man, like I kind of want an '05 STI and put all season tires on it because I know how that car is going to drive. It's going to have a lot of body roll. It's going to be sideways all the time. And you just solve problems with the gas pedal. Like that is fun. And they
Would you
don't
say
really
an
sell cars
'05
like that
STI
anymore.
like that?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna tell you right now, that is not what that would feel like.
Really?
This is where
Okay.
I gotta be real. You missed early STIs.
Sure did.
You 100%, you have I don't think you have ever got to drive a stock STI, especially a stock STI with the stock tires it came with. Because they didn't come with all seasons.
Correct. That's true. I drove your stage two
Yeah,
GV
and
STI,
that
and I drove your wife's car, the race car.
the tires it came with, and you should look it up, are Bridgestone REO 70s. They were
Okay.
serious ass 180 treadwear fuck you tires.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
And not
that's like
only
a
that,
280
that
tread wear
car
now.
was wildly over dampened, which is why you would put coilovers on it and the car would ride better.
I'm missing this part of the history, man. I am new school as it comes.
I'm telling you, those cars would still toss all over the place and be a complete riot to drive. Complete
Okay.
riot to drive. They don't get me wrong, there was a little bit of body roll, but your idea of stock STI is closer to what an '08 was. Now the '08,
Um,
that got super soft. Okay, they did put like a 300 treadwear tire on it. I'm not exactly sure which tire it was from the factory, and everything got soft about that car. And honestly, it didn't rotate the way you think it would, and it was soft.
hmm.
Like it understeered really bad. And like, not that you can't fix it. It's just as it came from the factory, it wasn't anywhere near as fun. But you hop in an '04 or '05 STI and you pitch that bit with stock tires. I'm talking bone fucking stock. And
Yeah.
because I've done it many times where we would tear around that industrial complex near where Six Star was. Okay.
Yeah.
And you go throwing that bastard around in that area, it is night and day different than anything you have experienced out of the box.
Okay.
Now, the closest thing
Hmm.
that we ever got to it was faster. I should say it was better, but it might not have been more fun. Was like your 15 STI, a good set of tires on that. That car was extremely good stock. Okay.
Yeah.
And tire technology had come a ways, all right? But you throw a set of 200 treadwear tires on it because the steering rack was really quick, and they made a bunch of refinements to it, and it had a really fat front sway bar, so the front was really direct. Like in the it like that car was really good. Was it more
Hmm.
fun? Was it a better car? Undoubtedly. It wasn't even close. Um
Okay.
but it like early STIs were raw. Like US domestic market STIs, especially the '04, were raw, dude. And they were they were tossable nut job cars. Absolutely crazy. Like it
So
still
it
to
is
this day
raw.
blows my fucking mind that they could even looking back on what they were selling at that time, how different the world was, because that car, it didn't even come with a fucking radio. Like it was so nuts. Like that's exactly what I want now, but that's because I remember that. Like you literally, and I'm sounding old and making you sound young, but your generation never got that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from the other side of the equation, the enthusiast equation, is WRX is too much performance, and it's going to be a little bit boring for people who don't want to chuck a car. You know, they want it to feel a little dangerous at like regular sane people speeds.
But
I'm not trying to justify a Civic Si here. I'm just saying.
they make these cars super safe now, and stability control and all
Yes.
that noise. Okay, and They didn't do that with an '04 STI. I'm going to tell you, an '04, '05 STI bone stock felt dangerous.
Yeah, you might die.
Yeah,
I
and it would, though, it did this thing where it coaxed you into doing stupid shit, and you barely could get away. You could get away with it, but you'd get done with it and go, that was fucking stupid. Like, and then you do it 2 or 3 hours later because you're like, well, I survived that one. I'm going to do something else. And why do you think insurance premiums went through the roof on these things? Dude,
there was just a video on TikTok of a dude just like sliding around corners and then absolutely bending it into a tree.
yes, we were all stupid. And you
Yep.
literally could on pavement live out Colin McRae's greatest hits. Dude, I'm
Yeah, this
telling you,
was
man.
recently, and
It,
it was a GD that was horrible.
GD were rowdy, especially '04 and newer. The JDM, early JDM ones, they didn't have DCCD. The majority of them didn't,
Mm.
unless you got like a Spec C or whatever. And they didn't have front LSDs. Those two things drastically made a difference on how these cars felt as far as being tossable.
Yes. Yeah. Okay? So two questions for you. That fun, dangerous feeling. Doesn't a GR Corolla have that now? That's a
Not
chuckable
anywhere near as much. And what you are
car.
feeling is
Oh, no.
not anywhere near as much.
Okay.
Oh, not that
Okay.
it's good. Okay, it's really good, but you do not feel like you don't get that hero vibe you do from those older cars.
Okay. Second question is, how chuckable is the VBWRX? I haven't driven one in anger.
It's probably about as chuckable as an '08 STI with a notch off. Like it just a stock VB WRX just it's open diffs, man. Like it's a heavy car. It's
Yeah.
on really shit
Yeah.
tubes. Now understand it takes 2 axles to get a party happening, okay? You have to have enough front grip to get the car to turn in to then rotate. And if you don't
Yeah.
have that, and a lot of that is tires, it's not going to be as fun. You have to have a good enough tire to get the car to rotate. If you don't, you're
Yeah.
going to turn the wheel and it's just going to plow. I know we get it. You're really bad about saying, I just want to have some all seasons so the car slides. And to a degree, you can get away with that in the BRZ. You can't get away with that in a heavier car, especially like an all-wheel
Okay.
drive vehicle. You have to have enough front grip to get the thing to rotate. Or you have to find a way to upset the rear, which is one of the reasons we all stick rear sway bars on these cars. Because then the thing rotates
Yeah.
more and it's more fun.
Yeah. I'm learning at the cost of rear grip, but it's changing the front rear balance. So
It's
you know
changing
you
the
can
front
you can
rear
deal with
balance,
it.
and it might not be the fastest way, but in the end,
Right.
the whole conversation we're having is, is fast fun or is fun? You know what I mean? And a little bit less
Yes.
grip might be more fun. And if you're having more fun sliding through a corner, it's probably a net positive to you. You know what I mean? Now,
Yeah.
a lap time is different than fun. Like, am I having a good time at the track or am I trying to turn a lap time?
Right. So Simon likes fun. I like a degree more towards performance, but man, coilovers and 200 treadwear tires on my BRZ was not fun. So I
think
went
you have
backwards.
too much tire. I'm with
Okay.
you on that. Not only that, I got to be real. I drove your car and it's good. Those tires suck. Okay, they're too.
They were weird.
They're not grippy enough to be like top level 200 treadwear. Like these things are
Right.
raw as shit. Okay,
Yeah.
and they don't make any noise, so you have no idea when you're crossing the line or not. And
Right.
they when they did let go, it was odd. It wasn't confidence inspiring. Um
Yeah.
but it wasn't fun. Like I will agree with you. Like the car's really good. I'm not a fan of that tire. I can understand you wanting to go down in tire, which with a BRZ you could do that. I bet you we could have put a PS4S on that car and you probably would have been a ton happier with it. In my opinion,
Maybe.
I would have had just as much fun, if not more fun, if we would have went the complete opposite direction, put an RE07 or probably an RE71 RS on it. Like it would have been more grippy, but like it would have been so much more
Yeah.
grippy that like it would have created other drama that would have been more entertaining. You would have had to drive it a
Yeah.
lot faster, but I'm willing to do that. You aren't.
Ultimately, the biggest complaint that I had was just how harsh the suspension was for daily driving. Like the grip was a high grip was annoying. It was less fun, but that was kind of a tail specific problem because it's so tight. We talked about that on a prior
Yeah.
episode. And
Because you
just for
got
the
on a different
listeners.
you got on a completely different road. And again,
Oh yeah.
then the car made way more sense.
Yeah. On a just for the listeners, the tires that I have on my BRZ for the summer set on the nice wheels is Yokohama 8009s, which are endurance 200 treadwear class
They're like a
225s.
premium 200 treadwear endurance tire. They're not
Yes.
they're like a pinky up 200 treadwear. These are
Yeah.
not track slut tires.
Correct. Yeah.
That
And
doesn't
they
mean they're
are
bad
220.
tires. Like it's a good tire, just not for what you were looking for.
Correct. They're 225s on a 9-inch wheel. That's a little bit of a stretch, but Yokohama approves it. So that also has something to do with how it felt. So, all right. So where I was going with this is, okay, DBWX to some people it's got too much performance, and then to other people who yell loudly on podcasts, it's not enough performance. So, how are we going to solve this? I would love to see an STI come back. I even told the people at the Chicago Auto Show I'd gladly pay 55 grand for the right amount of performance,
So
and the guy just laughed at me.
let's talk about this, okay? Because you went to the Chicago Auto Show. Why don't we just have a quick
Mhm.
conversation about this? Um,
Okay.
from the vibe I got, it was a drastically different experience than last year. Because you went there last year and tried to ask about the STI, and the guy basically got pissed off.
Yes. So to here's the setup. When you go to these auto shows and you talk to random people, they are paid by a third party company, which is contracted by Subaru, Honda, or whoever to solicit feedback from the public. You're not actually talking to somebody who works for the manufacturer. So last year and prior years and this year, I've always talked to the reps because they answered most of my questions. And then I try to talk to somebody from Subaru corporate. Person I talked to last year is also the person I talked to this year. So, from the brand rep who doesn't work for SOA, like, the STI is really not coming back. It's a hard car to sell. You should really just modify your WRX to get what you want. Ultimately, Subaru sells a lot of regular cars and, performance is only 2%. So they're doing the best that they can. And what else did he say? Oh, and last year, this person or the SOA guy, I don't remember, said, look, just stop asking about the STI DCCD. They really didn't want to talk about it. This year, they were at least willing to entertain questions. They were willing to give me the time, both the brand reps and the person that I talked to from SOA, which was nice. Now, I didn't get any more information around this year, but it's nice to have people just be more willing to listen. There's definitely enthusiasts that work for Subaru of America. And I get the feeling that a lot of these people work there for decades, but they can only do so much. At the end of the day, Japan makes all the decisions. And, we don't get STI anything because STI means something very different in Japan than it does in America. So, first point I want to make to you, Dewey, I need your commentary, is I told the guy at SOA, WX had its worst sales year on record, and he immediately challenged me and he said, look, we shut down the production line for Q2 and Q3 and moved all of our Forester production to Indiana to get around tariffs. Oh, I can see you on the camera, just blah blah blah. Okay. Well, after production resumed on the WX, it was positive numbers every month for the rest of the year. I haven't looked this up. I can look it up later. I've been busy, but that's technically correct, but that's not an encouraging answer. It's still the
I'm
lowest sales year on record.
I am so happy they found a way to justify the fact that they can't sell that car. Good for them.
Yeah.
I'm proud of them.
Yeah, that's
Like
I think the younger folks call it copium.
copium is exactly what they were trying to feed you there.
Yep. So, second thing is, well, we're proud of the performance of the WX. It stands on its own.
Against
What do you
what?
think of that? I don't I don't know, man.
Against
Not
this
against
is
the
the
GR
thing.
Corolla.
Well, against what? Is it, Like, what are you trying to put that? Now, with that stated, I will say a mildly modified WRX is an awesome, awesome vehicle. Okay. I'm not trying to take anything away from the VB and what it is. But
Right.
if you're just looking stock for stock, unless you are a Subaru enthusiast, what's there that's really like making you try to purchase this vehicle over something else other than the fact that it's all-wheel drive? Okay, that is literally its only saving grace is it's all-wheel drive. Because the price
Right.
of that is putting it dangerously close to a Civic Type R. You've got the Elantra N. Current GTIs are really good. You know, this is the area it's falling into is these vehicles, and they're all front wheel drive. Okay, but they're really fun to drive. Okay, and most of them come with nicer interior and like they have a lot going for them, but the only thing they don't have is all-wheel drive. But
Yeah.
that's a hard sell, especially if you're saying like California or something, and you know you're not dealing with snow and shit. Like if you're up north, there's a valid conversation to be had. Or comma, pause for effect, you need the room of that vehicle. It is really good. It just depends
It's
on what you're trying to put it against. If you're trying to say it stands on its own against a Camry, sure.
it's
Yeah,
not the
this is.
same class.
But what are we comparing? Are people really cross shopping WRXs for Camrys? I don't think so.
No, GTIs, Golf Rs, whatever's in the same price point, probably a Civic Type R, stuff that's kind of in the same price range.
Yeah,
These all get shopped.
they're gonna get cross shopped, and you know it's like that vehicle. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it's what they're offering in base form to somebody who doesn't know better isn't great. Now,
Yes.
us as the aftermarket have found ways to make that car really good. It is
Mhm.
really good. And I know you hear me beating on the VB nonstop, but I'm going to go back and scream the basic modifications we did to our VB at IAG. That car was great. I would have taken that car. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I honestly I think it's true. I would have taken that car over your STI.
Oh boy, that is some fighting words. I can't believe it.
No, as a daily, it'd get better gas mileage. Okay.
Oh, as a daily.
No,
Yeah.
hear me out. As a daily, it'd get better gas mileage. Its infotainment and stereo was actually pretty good. The seats were just as comfortable. And that car, as it sat on a curb, like its curb appeal, it looked great. It had more space in it. It did everything extremely well. And I gotta be real, the FA24 is a phenomenal engine, especially for daily use. It was
Totally
great.
agree. Yeah.
It was great. It's a great car. If you needed a do it all car, it's really good. But just this package base, these tires, these brakes, these whatever, just the base of this vehicle compared to the base of those other vehicles we talked about, it's not compelling. If you were an
Well,
alien that came from another planet, you're going to have a hard time looking at this going, that's the answer. You know what I mean? And I say an alien from another planet, but that's what a lot of these consumers are right now because we don't have the type of educated consumer that we did 10, 12 years ago. It's not the same thing anymore. These people don't even know what they're looking at.
I think this is always going to be a problem, but it's made worse by Instagram and TikTok for sure.
The other thing is
Death of
I am
forums.
100% of the belief if they had an STI version of this, and they would sell more WRXs, even though the STI maybe they only made 2,000 of them. You hardly ever
Yeah.
saw them on lots. They knew it existed. They'd sell more WRXs.
I tried to explain this to the brand rep and he just wasn't hearing it. He's paid not to hear
Again,
it.
that
Just
brand
the
rep,
company line.
that brand rep, his entire purpose in life is to spew whatever Subaru the vibe that they want to put out there. And I'm
Yes,
sure
and
they're gonna avoid any question that it would even remotely make it look like they're brand direction or whatever is not absolutely perfect and they have their shit together. They're
Yeah, that's
spinning it.
unfortunate. So, all right. So his answer, this is from the brand rep, doesn't work for SOA, paid to say the party line, is we brought back the base model, just buy it and modify it. And I didn't have a good answer for that other than why would I buy something? I'm sorry, why I can't buy an STI anymore. Why would I buy something lower and then modify it? That's extra work.
You
And
know
I
what?
don't want to go
I
through
would have
it.
looked him dead in the eye and I would have went, then why wouldn't I just buy a used STI? Because I'm not getting a warranty either way then.
Yeah, I'm not as sharp on some of these things. I try to be really polite rather than just like showing up guns a blazing saying you guys are full of shit.
Dude, fuck
But
people. I don't give a shit. This is why I don't get invited to stuff like this.
so, third thing I said, this is more of a comment, but um, I asked about Project Midnight. I said, this is from the SOA guy, have you considered bringing Project Midnight to a Grid Life event? He said, yes, it has been discussed, which I thought was great. He said, but we wouldn't go to compete. And I said, well, hold on now. This is a factory backed effort, and Grid Life is just a grassroots event. You wouldn't go to compete. You'd go to show off and set a lap record. He seemed to like that, but that was the end of that little conversation.
I I cannot believe the missed opportunity on their part with them not going to Grid Life events with that car. That
Yeah.
is, to me, is such ungodly low hanging fruit.
Yeah. I told him from my perspective, that car was built, hyped, set a lap record at Goodwood, set a lap record at VIR or something, and then they parked it. Why? He said, well, it's Scott's car, implying, well, Scott's a very busy guy, which I think he actually is. But really, like,
He ain't that.
if Subaru
I'm not trying to
calls,
say anything against Scott. Scott, I love you. If you ever listen to this, that is not what I want. So please don't take offense when I say that.
yeah,
Scott ain't that busy. Scott would make room if
totally.
he's like, "Yay,
Exactly.
we're going to Grid Life Midwest. There's going to be frickin', 30,000 screaming idiots there. It's a giant music drift,
Yeah.
whatever festival. We want you to go
Yep.
just set a blistering lap time." He'd be like, "Fuck, I don't care what's going on this weekend. It could be my brother's wedding."
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Another thing I said, these big Grid Life events are 30,000 people, like Midwest Festival. Subi Fest is about 3,000 people. That is an order of magnitude lower, 10x. So
Hold on.
come on,
Now you
guys.
also gotta let's look at the other side of this. I understand why they do that. It's fairly low lift, whatever. And the people that are there are guaranteed to be Subaru enthusiasts, or at least 90 plus
Sure.
percent of it. But that's also like just talking to your base. You know what I mean? And what they should be doing is trying to sell people who maybe aren't their base. And if Subaru was at
Yeah.
this events, they have a better chance of broadening their fucking base.
Man, these are the nuances that I miss. I did tell him like a full 50% of competitors are Subaru vehicles, and Subaru is much smaller than Honda, which is the other 50%. So
Yeah.
I missed that part. Speaking to the base. Yeah, all these people are already voting for you, and they already did. They voted with your dollars.
It's
Darn it.
like, again, not trying to be political, but it's kind of like, like Trump talking to, like, going to somewhere in deep Alabama, you know what I mean? To have a rally. Like,
Yeah.
sure, it's going to get them pumped. That's cool. But, like, were you really going to lose that area?
Yeah. Totally. Oh, here's another thing. I said this to the brand rep, and it seemed to really resonate. I said, one of the coolest things that I've seen in the past year was Scott Speed taking delivery of his personal STI project, the GD that was built by Six Star with
Yes.
whatever 450, 500 horsepower. He looked like one of us. He was so enthusiastic. That stuck with me. And I think it stuck with the brand rep as well.
It should, but I got to be real. How much of that is actually going to get turned around and brought back up the chain?
I don't know.
Can you
This year-
imagine how terrifying it would be for them to like have me as a brand rep at one of these things? Like, because
Terrifying.
they'd have to sell me on what we're trying to accomplish here. And then they'd send all of the nut jobs like you to me.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. The problem is you're not corporate at all. You're
Oh
very good at,
no. No, I'm going to get us in trouble.
if you're very good at maintaining relationships with people you don't like, but not corporate. If
No.
this is bullshit, you're gonna let everybody know. So what else do I got? Um, okay, so the theme of the auto show in general was EVs were so quiet. It was so dead. And then the rest of the auto show felt the same way. It's like every all the enthusiasm was just out of the window. I saw
I think
Corvettes,
you
they were fine.
I think you have right now the entire industry's going, "Holy shit, what do we do?" Because
Yes.
the EV craze has came to a grinding halt. And I think some of the reason for
Yes.
that is China's just going to do it better. Okay? And like I think they have the
Mhm.
I don't think any of these automakers here want to even try to fight what they're doing there.
Okay, so for a little background, Dewey and I are not experts on this, but the EV market in China is extremely large. Most vehicles sold are EVs, and part of that comes from, I think, generous state subsidies because it's a country that likes to do that. And that's one of the reasons that tariffs on Chinese EVs being brought into America are like 100% because they are otherwise sold for way lower than any Western
It
brand,
would be
not just
half of what a
American
Tesla
brands.
would be, and
Yeah.
it's definitely not half the car.
Exactly. And BYD, which is the largest EV manufacturer in the world, is larger than Tesla. And that's like
Mhm.
China's crown jewel right now, BYD. So it's I, this whole thing gets very messy and I don't know my big politics well enough to talk about it. There are far smarter people than me. But that hype train on EVs, a lot of it was fed by Elon. However, that's not for no reason. It's because China was already doing it, and Elon was trying to catch a Western brand up to fight them.
There's truth to that, but one of the other things too is it was getting pumped from uh subsidies from the government, and that all went away. And when the government
Yeah.
subsidies dried up for the most part, the proposition of an EV started to look a whole lot less fantastic. Not only that, like you had all these what you had is these large companies, because they were kind of getting forced into EVs, were trying to go, we're excited about EVs, and like trying to like
Yes.
put a great spin on it. And now that they're kind of not forced into it because of cafe standards and stuff chilling way out,
Yes.
they're all like, yeah, why don't we just build what we actually wanted to? Or like, what do we do now? What do you guys actually want? Because we're not sure.
Yes.
And I think it's a lot of it is
Yeah.
like, what do you actually, and that's why you're starting to see a bunch of performance stuff, because the performance community, while it might not be large, is loud. Okay. And we're all
Mhm.
going, give us fucking fun cars again. And so they're like, well, I mean, that's an option. Maybe, hey, look at this. Subaru's
Yeah.
going, we could build that pretty easy if, like this concept B. What do you guys think of this? We could do this pretty quick, you know?
Yeah. Well, it kind of gets to a broader point, which is if you have a Western brand told to build an EV tomorrow, they're just going to build a compliance car and it's not going to be the best. Meanwhile, China, well, tells a company to do something and they do it because otherwise their whole family gets put in a van and never seen again. So, yeah, very different in the other side of the world. Um,
I want to hit on something Seraphim Wolf just said. He's like, so because we're getting into all this, well, what do you want? And Seraphim Wolf, and I've heard this lots of times, so I'm gonna try to answer this as to why I think this doesn't happen. Okay. Um,
okay.
long story short, why don't we have like a retro style throwback designs in some of these cars? Like what he's saying is give us something that's got like um some front ends that look more like a version 6 through 9 ST, like an older STI or something like that. Well, there are a few
Yeah.
different reasons. One, crash standards have made those front ends basically impossible to make anymore. So what you're going to get is some really weird version of that. And two, we're not fucking boomers. Okay? And like the throwback retro thing kind of came and went. And honestly, I don't, as much as I
Hold
love the
on, hold on.
90s cars, I don't think let's let me finish what I'm saying.
Okay.
A modern Mustangs have kind of evolved from this, like they did this throwback retro thing in the like early 2000 or in the early 2010s, late 2000s, right? Where all these companies, Chevy, Dodge, GM, they were trying to make their cars look like their cars in the 60s, but a modern twist on them, right? Um,
Yep.
what he's kind of asking for is Subaru to do that, but with a more for our generation. So we're talking like 90s cars, maybe even early 2000s cars. And I get where you're coming from on that, but the problem is it's never going to look right. And the things that attracted us to those things are not those were never good looking cars. Okay? Like,
Mm,
so like
I
you can't
I have a
look at
different take.
you can't look. I'm sorry, a bug eye, as much as I love it and and you guys have seen this video and the things I love about it, it doesn't make it a good looking car. It wasn't classically a good looking vehicle. Not only that,
Yeah,
those a
no.
bunch of those cars sucked. Like a bunch of those, like these throwback retro cars, like that generation of Mustang right in the beginning was awful. That generation of Camaro right in that beginning era was kind of
Yeah.
terrible. Like, and we're not even going to get into the Dodges because those weren't great either. Like, they weren't good. They were way heavier than they needed to be. And they were just doing whatever they could to try to drum up sales from a bunch of boomers living on nostalgia.
Yeah, so that first retro Mustang after the what, Cobra Mustang, I don't know my
Yeah.
body styles,
Yeah.
but you know
So,
what I'm talking about.
yes.
That car is not pretty. People looked at it
No.
and go, "Whoa, that car is retro." But now the current Mustangs, they look pretty good, man, and
They
they
look
kind of look
good.
like the old Mustangs.
They, well, they don't really look like the old Mustangs or they kept some of the flavor, but like it's
Yeah.
kind of like they kept what worked and what didn't. Okay. But they had
Where
to learn
where
how
he's
to
going
get
with it,
there.
that I think I'm with Seraph and Wolf on this. So he mentioned the Nissan 400Z. That is a nice looking car. And does it look retro? Kinda. Yeah. It's just a good looking car.
You think the 400Z is like a good looking car?
It's not the best looking car, but it's certainly not a bug eye.
I think I'll agree with you on that. Okay, but with that stated, I think they missed the mark on that. Now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit here and say I think the current BRZ, just from an aesthetic standpoint, is a significantly better looking car. Okay, and I think it
Sure.
is actually closer to hitting the mark of what people liked about the old 240Zs and stuff like that than the
Mhm.
400Z is, even though it is a Nissan.
I like the older BRZs too, especially how the tail lights looked
Yeah,
with the various body styles. Tail
that's
lights at night was just so
it,
nice,
it,
distinct.
I it's one of those things that I think designers were told, "Hey, try to capture the essence of this," and they didn't even understand why people liked what it was about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and like they miss the mark in certain situations. Now let's talk about the current Mustang. I think the current Mustang looks. I think the last generation Mustang looks better than the current one, but I
Mm.
think they've I like what they've done. You know what I mean? They took that same concept and kind of figured out what was it that people really liked about those old 60s cars, and
Yeah.
what made those work, and then like put their own modern twist on it, and it worked out really well. It's trying to grab certain things about the vehicle that people that really got people hyped up, and it's sometimes people can't even explain why they think a car is beautiful. They just know it is.
Right. That's right. Last thing I'll say about the Chicago Auto Show, it was extremely quiet. I did look at the Prelude in person. It's a good looking car. It's way too expensive and it's extremely small inside. Like, for no reason, I can't fit in that car at all.
Everything about
So
that car is wrong for you.
everything is wrong. So you and I have talked for a couple weeks now. I'm just going on this roller coaster of emotions, this Prelude, and I'm back into hating it, and I'm there to stay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it to you, but it had to be done.
Yep.
you know.
I do like my BRZ though, even if it is loud on the highway and a little bit cramped and only fits 2 people. The motor sure is sweet and it's got plenty of performance.
Your
Plenty of fun too.
your BRZ is a modern 240Z,
Mhm.
and it does a
Sure is.
very good job of that. And
Yep.
that is, I think, the only thing they really missed, but a lot has been gained, was I the only thing that car really needs is it just needs to sound a hair better. If it did, they
Yeah.
would not be able to keep those fucking things on the lot.
Yeah. I agree. I don't wanna put an exhaust on mine because I don't want any more road noise or
But
drone in the cabin.
even if you have that, it's not going to give you the right sound. Like, there is
Mm,
uh, uh, there's something about, inline sixes, or like Porsches, or certain cars just have a something to it. Like, the
yeah.
cheapest car I've ever heard that has it is like a Volkswagen VR6. It could be in a frickin' it could
Oh,
be in a Jetta, okay? And it doesn't, it's just got this growl, this it's not exotic, but it is. Like, it's hard
mm,
to explain, and there's just certain sounds that it's the BRZ, it's the one thing it is really missing, and
yeah.
the only way Subaru could ever kind of fix that and still keep with their same, ethos and what they're building, is if they put an H6 in it, and let's be real, that's just never happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Ain't gonna happen.
yeah,
To be fair, the F824 in the BRZ is extremely capable engine. It is so
absolutely.
smooth. It is a joy
It
to
is it
drive.
is
But
great if they, and even then, it's not the worst sounding engine. Believe me, there are worse. It's not an
oh god,
awful sounding engine. It's not the sound itself is not something you'd make like a background sound of, to like,
no, yeah.
you get what I'm
If you
saying? Like,
unplug,
it's not
if you
iconic.
unplug the sound generator, if you unplug the sound generator and then floor it, it sounds like a Camry dying, and that is an ugly sounding engine. It
It's
is horrible.
I won't even I don't think it's that bad, but it's not uninspiring, but it's not inspiring. It's meh.
I haven't done it in about a year, but I should unplug my sound generator again. I feel like I'm driving a 2004 Chevy Malibu, like dangerously while I'm in high school. You
Yeah.
know, just this car has no business going fast. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a boring car. But anyway, one more thing I wanted to say. I got to sit in Subaru's EVs again, the Trail Seeker, the Uncharted, and the Solterra.
Yeah.
Um, they are unbelievably gray and boring inside. It is unbelievable how ugly the interior styling is in
That
those
car
cars. Like,
existed for one reason, and that was for cafe standards. That was it.
yes,
There is
yes,
no
copy
effort
paste for
put into
fuel
that.
economy.
Whoever got put on that to design that car and build that, between Toyota and Subaru, they were not there. They put the lowest rung people with absolutely,
Yep.
yeah, they literally bean counters
So
designed that car.
I sat in the new Outback, which has more physical buttons and it looks really nice inside. Then I sat in like a Crosstrek, which has the older version with just the screen and everything's touch. And I don't like it, but it was so much nicer than sitting in those EVs.
Mhm.
I was like offended how bad it was.
S
So,
so,
but
the newer Outback, this is something I wanted to ask. There seems to be a pretty big push on going back to more physical buttons, and I really like that.
yes, this was in their marketing material. We heard you. We brought back physical buttons.
There's just something about touch surfaces, you know what I mean? And being able to, and your a vehicle will feel more premium, give you a certain vibe to it on basic touch surfaces. This is why I harp on steering
Yeah.
wheels all the time. Like,
Mm,
so, like, I'm gonna go, we're tangenting again. It's happening. I hope you
go
got a
for it.
minute.
Tell me
Okay.
about steering wheels.
So my bug eye, I remember the very first time I touched a bug eye steering wheel, it was on a Subaru lot, O2 WRX, brand new car, the car probably had 30 miles on it, okay, and I got to go take a test drive. I
Yeah.
could not believe they let me take a test drive. Um, that wheel felt so premium, okay? Like, this was said Momo in the middle and it had this fantastic touch, and, like, it felt so cool to just grab onto this wheel. And it was like nothing else in any of the other vehicles. And I'm not going to say that I had this plethora of other vehicles, but you got to understand I had like a Saturn, and then I also had, my Volkswagen Corrado was kind of cool, but like the materials
Yeah.
that were used weren't all that great. And um I've had my RX-7, again, the materials weren't super great, but then here's this. This felt special when you grabbed onto it, right? And it was one of the things that instant touch onto that when maybe, and this is one of the things that bugs me about the VB right now, is you don't get that vibe when you hop into that. It doesn't feel special. Okay. A Type
Mm,
R does. Okay. It
yeah.
feels a little special. Even an Elantra N, it's a Hyundai and it still feels a little special. Okay, you hop into a WRX, it doesn't feel that special right now. I'm not saying it isn't a very nice vehicle and can't be made into something epic, but I can understand why if it was the first time you sat in one of these. I had no Subaru experience before touching the steering wheel. Now, let's
Yeah.
fast forward to my current Bug Eye. It's got that same Momo steering wheel in it, but that steering wheel is 25 years old now, and that leather's rock hard. And what you don't realize is things have gotten significantly better as far as steering wheels and feel and stuff we want out of it and whatever. And I didn't realize how big this steering wheel is. It's really, really big. Okay. This is probably a 400 millimeter steering wheel. It's huge, right? Um,
Jeez.
so I I've got, thankfully it came with the STI steering wheel. I didn't realize how much smaller the STI steering wheel was. And it doesn't, honestly, the STI steering wheel, just at first glance, doesn't seem as special. You don't have that Momo logo in the middle and whatever, but it is a significantly nicer steering wheel. It's a little thicker, it's a little smaller, it feels more direct. Um, these are things you notice when you touch surfaces are super important. My race car, I ran a Sparco wheel for years, round Sparco wheel, whatever. But then I got it was almost identical to this Momo steering wheel that I have in my hand right now. It's like a Mod 88. I think is what it's
Mm,
called. And this feels fantastic. And it's not that it's overly thick, it's just shaped right. And it's got the 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 shape is really what's doing it. It's not overly thick, but it's the way it's more oval shaped than round. It's got everything's right where it should be, and it feels premium when you hold on to it. The original BRZ had a cheap as fuck piece of shit steering wheel in it. Okay, it was awful.
mm,
Um, and I thought it was as bad as it could get. The worst Subaru steering wheel I've ever grabbed onto, still to this day though, and I'm gonna state it, and I absolutely hate it, is yours. I hate the modern current BRZ steering wheel. It feels
oh
terrible.
yeah.
And
A
it
very cheap feeling.
not only does it feel cheap, it's like it's the actual, like, how you grab it, it feels thin in all the wrong places. Like, it is
Yeah.
not an inspiring steering wheel whatsoever. But what I'm trying to get at is touch surfaces really matter. Okay.
Totally.
And if I think Subaru could drastically help themselves if they added $1,000 to the price of the vehicle and put a way nicer steering wheel in it. Something along those lines. You know what I mean? Like, really maybe had a conversation with enthusiasts or started to go, what cars are really moving people? And it doesn't, they can still keep all the modern infotainment stuff, but when you grab onto that, it has to feel premium. And it's worth way more money than I guarantee it costs them to do that.
Sure. I totally agree. A little bit goes a long way. And when you don't have enough of that cool factor, yeah, things don't work out right, do they?
You are in a constant state of touching this thing when you're in the car. Okay. So it
Mhm.
is the one thing you're going to feel. It's like that in the seats. Like, and you're not seeing the seats. They just have to feel okay. You don't have to go super premium Recaro with
Right.
Alcantara and all that shit. It just needs to feel a particular way. You know what I mean? But the wheel, you not only are you looking at it all the time, but you are touching it all the time. And it needs to feel really good. And I think you would win more people over with it. That is, if there is one thing that they need to spend a little bit of time on, it's that mindset for the STI that they may or may not be making. The steering wheel has got to feel right. The shift knob has got to feel right. Okay.
Yep.
They need to make sure that the shift feel is spot on. So when an enthusiast hops in this and drives it, they can't even explain why they love it. They're just like, this thing feels great. It doesn't even have to be that fast. It does the right things right. The rest of it is details.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. No notes. Let me see. What else we got? I think that's everything on our list, man.
I'm down for chatting with anybody if you got any other stuff. I'm going to, so this STI wheels got some age on it. There's no bringing this leather
Mhm.
back and making it right. So I think I'm going to order, they've got these companies like Texas Interiors or whatever, and there's a few different ones that they sell. You can order either leather or Alcantara or all sorts of different stuff and kind of different colors and whatever, and you wrap the steering wheel yourself. So you go through and you got to stitch it, and it, like, I think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm going to do that on this wheel, and I'm going to see if I can't make this steering wheel have that same this '04 STI steering wheel I have. Give me that same super premium new wheel vibe to it. You know what I mean? Um, so I'll report back on that. Honestly, this wheel overall is in great shape. Like the logo and everything's in the center. It looks good. Like it's just it's got age to it. You know what I mean? I think I can bring it back. I'm kind of
Mm.
excited to try this because I've heard really good things about doing that, and I'm trying to stick with this OEM plus ethos because in the past I would have just thrown a damn racing wheel in it. I don't know.
Well,
That's what I got. If it works really
I
well,
mean,
we should do it to your steering wheel.
okay.
Because
I'm down.
I
I'm down
fucking
to try
hate
it.
your wheel. If there is, like, I I'm actually surprised there are not more companies out there like Damned doing more things for your car with the rim itself. It is like my biggest complaint about your car.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was closer to my body too. It just is not the right position.
No, no, that was always something I had a problem with my BRZ too. Like I wish I wish the telescoping did like a little more, but we're also
Sure.
like freakishly tall people driving
Yeah.
cars that probably aren't the right size for us.
No, they
Um,
are not.
so like I can't be that mad at him. At least the wheel does telescope, and everybody else who sits in that car fits great. It's just like me, you, and Jeremy are like oddball, tall,
Yeah.
goobery people trying to drive these
Yeah.
cars.
Yep. Weebos. Japanese weebos.
Yes, we're broken humans. So,
All right. So I got to drop. I got to go do some more work.
all right,
But
buddy.
before I go, my last question for you is how is Ocho the cat?
Ocho's fine. He's
Okay.
he's back around here having a good time being a dick. In fact, I think he's sleeping behind my monitor right now. Yep, that's where he's at. So
Oh,
he's yeah, he's just getting fat again. So yeah, he came back. I know I had a freak out there. He came back like later that night or whatever. Like, yeah, he's good, which is good because I would have
what?
been
What was that?
pissed if he died.
You had a. Oh, what happened to him? He just like was out and about for a couple hours.
Well, so a couple weeks ago, um, we heard he was meowing all sorts of crazy. Okay, we weren't sure, but it was like middle of the night. I couldn't hear it because I was out cold, but my wife heard it. And then the
Hmm.
next day, I didn't see him at all the entire day. And I'm like, well, I don't know. It didn't even dawn on me. And then Megan's like, yeah, Ocho was making all sorts of crazy sounds last night. And then I'm like, really? I'm like, come to think of it, I haven't seen him all day. So I went out
Yeah.
looking for him and whatever, couldn't find him, had no idea, and I ended up Monday nights, we do a racing league. So I was racing. It was almost like 10 o'clock at night when I finally like got done. And or when I got done, I stood up and I was all like, I was kind of depressed. I'm like, I think my cat's dead, weird
Yeah.
meowing, whatever. That might have been him. Like that was his last gasp or whatever.
Yeah.
And, yeah, as I was getting up and walking back inside, his ass came rolling in, meowing his ass off, like, "Hey, what's up?" And then ate like he hasn't saw food in like 2 months. So
Wow.
yeah, I don't.
Did
Then
he look okay?
he
Did
looked
he look
fine,
beat up?
looked totally fine. I think he was out getting ass
Wow.
personally. So, Sarah Pinwolf, warranty. Do you have T Rex arms like Dewey? I can answer that. No.
Go for it. No, I'm tall and proportional. So Dewey and I are the same torso height, but I've got longer arms and legs.
Yeah, he's got the rest of the stuff to go with the torso height. I'm just all torso.
Yep.
I have his
Yep.
torso height and none of the rest of it. I'm like a 5'8" guy with a, 6'10" torso.
Be glad, man, because I fit in even less cars than you. So
Yeah, except no, I'm not going to be glad because I have most of the same issues you do, other than my legs are a little shorter. But like the wheel
mm.
isn't anywhere near where I need it to be. And the
Ah, yeah,
cars that I
sure.
wish I
Sure.
could fit in, yeah, because I have to like lean my seat back or my head hits the roof, identical to how your head hits the roof. My ass to
Yeah.
head is the same. I just don't have the arms to reach. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it's the worst, dude. I am so depressed and I don't think I'll ever get to own an NSX. And honestly, it was never going to happen because it's going to be a $200,000 car.
Remind me. Oh,
It's gonna be.
oh man.
It doesn't
Remind
matter.
me
It's going to
of
be a
these
$200,000 car by the end of the year. So like, a crap NSX is going to be $150,000 to $200,000 by the end of the year. Not the fancy
God.
ones with the fixed headlights, the ones that are like super cool. Like those are going to be 300 grand.
Man, I was in a good mood, and then you had to bring that up.
I'm so like it bugs me every day I think about it. I'm like, God, I would,
Yeah.
because that car's great. It's literally the Japanese 911. It doesn't break. It's got great driving dynamics. It sounds awesome. It looks fantastic. It does everything you want it to do, and you really don't have to do anything to it. And it's awesome. And yeah, it is what it is. We are cursed. We would fit in 911's great though, by the way. And I fit in a Cayman, which was
Oh, I
yeah.
do fit in a Cayman. I drove that Cayman at the tail of the
You
dragon.
fit
And it was
you fit in 911
was
even better.
fixed.
You'd fit in old 911s
Really?
really well.
That's astounding. That's interesting.
You'd actually
Dude,
fit better because you got to think they have kind of fake rear seats. So if you need to recline the seat back even further, you could.
Interesting. Okay.
Because
I'm
the
actually gonna
engine's
sit in
not in
one.
the middle, it's in the rear. So you've got more room.
Oh,
And
interesting.
911s
Okay.
tend
Well,
to be a
listen.
little taller. So, all right, I'm going to let you go.
Okay. Cool. See you, man.
All right, later, man. Well, folks, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. And we will see you guys next time.